A worldwide manhunt for a Scottsdale man continues right now. At this very moment, 10 years ago, Robert Fisher was in a heated argument with his wife. Hours later, he carried out a methodical plan, killing his wife and children. All new at 10, I sat down with the man in charge of tracking down this killer and the help he needs from you.
He took people's lives. This case has actually generated a life of its own.
The morning of April 10th, 2001.
911, where is your emergency?
This was no typical house fire. A gas furnace had been disconnected, a candle lit, and the ensuing explosion set off a murder investigation, manhunt, and many unanswered questions.
The case is definitely progressing.
Still, a decade later, the one thing missing from the house that day remains at large: Robert William Fisher.
For the crimes this guy committed, we're not going to give up.
Hours before the explosion, Fisher argued with his wife, Mary. That night, he shot her in the head and cut her throat. He then walked into his children's room, 12-year-old Brittany and 10-year-old Bobby Jr., slicing their necks.
I want to go up to him and say, why? Why could you harbor this in your heart?
That's Mary's father, Bill Cooper, in an interview with us years ago.
I want him caught so badly.
Unfortunately for Bill, that wouldn't happen in time. Bill passed away, never knowing why his daughter and grandchildren were murdered, never able to see Fisher in handcuffs.
It's one of my cases. Is it my most important case? Absolutely it is.
Every day, FBI Special Agent Robert Caldwell says he works to find Fisher.
It's a case every day that I get something on.
He's been with the agency for 20 years.
So almost half of your career has been spent searching this guy.
Yeah.
The last trace of Fisher came 10 days after the murders and fire. His wife's SUV was spotted in the Tonto National Forest 100 miles from the crime scene.
And inside was a coffee mug and the Oakland Raiders ball cap that Robert Fisher was wearing in the ATM. After that, we haven't had a confirmed sighting since.
Some believe Fisher took up residence in a cave. Others believe he had a getaway car waiting and drove away, starting a new life.
It's a challenging issue in this case because Robert Fisher has such a common look, if you will. He looks like a lot of people.
The 6-foot, 190-pound physically fit man is an avid outdoorsman. He has a surgical scar on his lower back and walks with an exaggerated posture with his chest pushed out. Caldwell has received thousands of tips and at points thought to have been very close, even taking some lookalikes into custody.
We've had them up to the point where we've had to actually run their fingerprints to make sure it wasn't them.
With so much searching and no sign, question is, does he think Fisher is alive?
You know what? We won't know until we either find his body or we find him alive walking around someplace.
Agents believe Fisher is heavily armed and want you to call 911 if you think you see him. As for Caldwell, 10 years after this case landed on his desk, he still has no problem maintaining his focus on Fisher.
It's self-motivating. This is a person that doesn't deserve to be walking on the streets like you and I are. One day, it'll be a great victory when we do find him.
And a $100,000 reward is being offered for information leading to Fisher's capture. Tomorrow night at 10, I have another part of this story. I take a look at what the FBI says Fisher may look like today. That's tomorrow at 10.